Peace, beautiful souls. My name is Troy Loren of Mama Tree Doula. I am your favorite full spectrum wellness doula, and I'm excited to be sitting here with Bella Hilton of Studio Fertility. Hey, Bella, how you doing today?
I am wonderful. And honestly, you have such a wonderful energy that I wish that you had been my doula when I was giving birth.
Thank you. I love the work so much. It's one of my favorite things in the world. I really do love, I love birth work. I love talking about all things TMI. And I've always been like that from like middle school. I'd be like, oh, my cycle's on, talking to a random group of, like, and they'd be like, oh, Troy, too much. And I'm like, yeah, but what about, like, let's talk more. So I love birth work. I love working with families, expectant families. And I am here to connect the dots in the thread that kind of streams through femininity and motherhood and just like womanhood in general. Now, as a doula, I work with people who are expecting, period.
Yeah.
I work with people who have already had their babies. Now, not a lot of times do I see people who are trying to conceive, but I do know that it's an issue amongst the community. And I'm here to talk to you about that. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in fertility.
Yeah, so I'm Bella Hilton. I have my own business called Studio Fertility, and studio because it's like, it's a one room apartment in your uterus kind of thing. It's all contained. That's why I called it studio. And I help women who are struggling with getting pregnant with the emotional and mental side of it, because it can be really debilitating, and getting more accepted in society, like more and more people are knowing people who are struggling, but not really knowing how to deal with it. And so that adds to a lot of the stress and pressure that people feel when they're being told to just relax or just go on holiday, or any of those really unhelpful things that that people just don't understand about trying to get pregnant, because it is a game-changing this isn't about just switching jobs or something like this will literally change your life. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I love that you highlight the emotional and mental side of it, which to me as a wellness professional, it makes me feel like we should be highlighting even more the importance of health and wellness within life in general. So, how does that really, how does emotional and mental stuff affect fertility and the capacity to conceive?
In so many ways that I think that we discount it so much, because when people start trying to conceive, and then they're struggling along the way, they're having trouble, maybe the year has gone past, they're having the tests and things like that, they do start to panic, the desperation sets in, and they try and do all the physical things because those are tangible. I can grip onto those are easy, easy, so to speak. But they'll look into my diet. I'll change my lifestyle. I'll take supplements. But then those things also become added pressure on them, in that they go, oh, I didn't eat right today. Oh, it was that one coffee that I had that ruined my whole fertility. Oh, it was the supplements I didn't take, and now my whole month is ruined. So that can actually spiral people really down, 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 and they forget about the mental and the emotional side of it. Now, how it helps is in so many ways. Like, I don't want to, if anyone's listening who's struggling, I don't want to say just relax and it will happen, because that's exactly not what I'm saying at all. Though we do know that having our nervous system so on in that fight or flight mode all the time, in that, a lot of people can get to clinical depression stages and clinical anxiety stages, that, that level is not helping the body to prioritize reproduction. Quite apart from that is like making decisions can be impossible, that are actually driving you forward and that are good for you, not necessarily just what your doctor is saying, not just necessarily, because your acupuncture, your nutritionist, and your doctor could all be saying different things. So what's right for you in the end? And when you are feeling good within yourself, when you're feeling strong, when you're feeling empowered, then you'll be able to look at all the advice and go, well, no, this is what feels good for me. And when
Mm,
you believe in what you're doing, it's going to have way better benefit than just like the approach of throw the spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks. That's trying to control something that you just really can't control.
mm,
So there's so many aspects, but one of the biggest reasons that I do what I do is that I just think it's horrible that women are missing out on their lives for 3, 5, sometimes 10 years in
mm,
this space of like absolute hell. And I just don't want that for anybody. Yes, we can have the crappy thing that's going on over here, but hey, let's build a whole life that's amazing as well. So that if you ever have to get to the decision of like, oh, I don't think this is going to happen for me, then you just don't have nothing. It doesn't feel like such a massive thing. You're like, well, I've got this really full life and I'm going to grieve this thing.
mm.
And yes, I really wanted this. And for some people, it is just like this deep seated desire in their heart. And I've never discount that. But if you've already got a pretty full life, then it's going to be a lot easier to make that transition as well.
I love that. It reminds me of a meme, two memes actually.
Yeah.
I am not a meme queen, but I can think of the one with the little cartoon dog sitting in a burning cafe. It's like
Yeah.
it's on fire and he's just sitting like everything's okay, like the
Yes,
perspective. And
I've
then
actually used that kind of metaphor before. It's like, your house is burning down around you and you're just walking along going, doo, doo, doo. It's like,
everything's gonna be all right. I'll make it out. It is what it is. These are just objects that can be replaced, but I'm healthy, I'm safe. And then there's another one where I see this, it's another cartoon, and it's this guy on the bus up a mountain, and on the side of the mountain there's just like the brick or the mountain texture or whatever, and he's looking at it and he's miserable and he's like crying. But then on the other side you can see you're on a mountaintop, so there's the clouds and the butterflies and the blue skies that he's
yeah,
totally missing because he's just so sad looking at this dark gloomy mountain. But like, perspective, shift your perspective. If you can get ahead of the mindset, then everything will ultimately be all right, no matter what the
exactly.
no matter
Exactly.
how it turns out. So it really sounds like, though, a lot of, and not to say a lot, I don't want to oversimplify it, because I believe that fertility and infertility issues really stem from a number of things. But it sounds like hormonal imbalances or frequent changes, things like that, play a role in not only our mental state, depression, anxiety, how we choose to isolate and be in community, but it also affects our fertility. So I'd like to ask, can you share with us like ways to avoid hormonal changes or to correct hormonal imbalances? Like, what are some things that you might share or advise to some of your clients to support?
Yeah, from the mental and emotional standpoint, it is about reducing stress, but I think stress is misunderstood because we need stress in our life, right? We
Mhm,
stress our body to stand up in the morning, otherwise we wouldn't get out of bed. We
mhm,
stress our bodies to do exercise, right? And all of these things are healthy for us. Where we're triggering our fight or flight all the time is like creating scenarios in our head
mhm,
about things that probably aren't going to happen.
mhm,
And look, I have people who have been 48 years old who PCOS, who like all like recurrent miscarriage and all of those things. And we dig away into like the the um, the phrases that they're saying to themselves, but also their deepest fears. And we actually deal with those deepest fears head on.
mhm,
Because often when you do, it's like if you are in a dark room and you hear a noise over in the corner, you're terrified, right? You're like, oh my gosh. And that's the state that they're in, oh my gosh, fight or flight. But if you get your flashlight and you shine it in the corner, you go, oh, it's a cute little kitty cat. I wonder where he belongs.
mhm,
Sometimes shining that light and or breaking down your deepest fears, in a measured way can help you to get to the other side of those, so they're no longer affecting you, so you can be at a place where you can rationally think things through, tap into your intuition. I'm big on tapping into your own intuition and what feels good for your body,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. Yeah. I think that the biggest way to avoid kind of getting into those places is to recognize it early when if you're getting to the stage where you're at the 12-month mark and you're really struggling mentally and it was starting to really struggle mentally and emotionally, reach out for help then.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait until you hit rock bottom. Too often, a lot of my clients are coming to me because they've hit rock bottom, right? And only then they've gone, oh, I just can't live like this anymore, right? And they're starting to prioritize themselves. You need to prioritize yourself from the beginning,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because who you are almost on the journey up to that will be how you sometimes are throughout your pregnancy and also into parenthood, right? It's multifaceted.
Mm-hmm. So
Talk
what are
about
some
all
things
that
that
for ages. Yeah.
what are,
Sorry.
what are some things that you would suggest that will allow people to prioritize themselves early on, that they can consistently do throughout pregnancy and parenthood if they were to be successful in fertility, or if they were not? What are some things like, I'm thinking maybe like journaling or just gentle movement exercises, things like that? Or would you have any suggestions for self-care prioritization?
Yeah, look, I think there's always those, I don't want to call them surface level things, but there's things that you can Google and that they all come up. That is journaling and getting out your emotions and eating right and taking time out for yourself and making sure you get downtime and you're just not on the go constantly. But it's also about not Googling every little thing and, like I said, trying the spaghetti against the wall approach and just seeing what sticks. It's about looking at something and going, no, I want to invest in that and I'm going to believe in that and I'm going to go down that path, because there's a million ways that you can approach it, uh,
Mm,
and you can drive yourself crazy trying to do all of them.
yeah. That's true. You want to stick to something that's effective for you and that works for you. I know I'm always like self-care, self-care, self-care.
Mm,
When I first started tapping into that space for myself, because I was clinically depressed and suicidal
mm,
first
yeah,
pregnant.
wow.
So I was like, I'll go and get my nails done. And I realized that I hated getting my nails done. It stresses me out. I'm like watching them the whole time, like, ugh. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love the foot massage. That feels great. Sure, the polish is beautiful afterwards, but it literally drives me insane to be there. I don't like spending money. I'm like, ugh, this doesn't make me feel good. It's no return in this.
It's
So
so funny. When I had my baby, all my husband used to say was like, go and have a mani-pedi. It's like, I don't actually like them. Like,
I want
go
that.
do something else. That's
Stresses
all
me
he ever
out.
said.
Oh, but it was a matter of like figuring out what I liked, what my self-care looks like. And even the
Yeah.
more that I got into that, I learned that there is a difference between self-care and self-maintenance. Like there are some things
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
need to happen.
Yes.
If
Have a
I want,
shower and wash your hair. Yeah.
boom, those I need
That's
to do that. I need
that's
to
not
make sure.
self-care. No.
Exactly. And as an entertainer, also, sometimes it does require my nails, but it's not something that I would put on my like, I want to relax day. I want to go, self-care. It would be on some, this is a task. This is a chore I have to do. I got to go get my nails done or something like that. So I've found that like I love ecstatic dancing. I
Hmm.
do yoga, but even in my practice, it's like I either want to be an extreme yogi, or I want to be an extremely lazy yogi. So finding the perfect fit for me was really important. And it's important for other people to do that self-exploration to see what works for them. Sometimes it is
Because
journaling.
sometimes it's a really simple thing that might bring you immense joy. Like one of my clients, like way back in the early days, we simply got her reading again,
Mm,
reading, because she had loved it growing up and she'd lost it along the way. And then all of a sudden she was just this vivacious reader and she was loving it. And then she was exploring life. She's like going out and doing singing lessons and and all manner of things. And she was actually having a ball all before she got pregnant. But that all led up to her getting pregnant, because all the things that I do, which like honestly, I do only focus on the mental and emotional side of fertility. And yet I looked at my rates last year, because I like to keep tabs on that. 70% of my clients got pregnant. And I'm
Wow.
like, so there is definitely something in this, looking after yourself, finding out what brings you joy or happiness, or, like those kind of things. But I
Mm,
would say, like, further to that question is like, in that self-care is like, also really take care of your relationship, like prioritize that. Make
mm,
sure you're having fun date nights, like
mm,
once a week, and nurturing that as well, because that, the strength of that is going to help you through. Build your team around you of people, whether they are, your mom and your dad and your brother and your sister and your spouse and best friends,
mm,
or whether it is that the medical professionals. Because if you don't have the supportive people in your life, find your community. I would say be careful of some Facebook groups that pose as support groups. Like, I don't want to ever talk ill of anybody, but sometimes I go into those and they're not monitored, and um, there's not anyone directing anybody to help them through it. It can just be a lot of people just like honestly, I just read through it and I walk out depressed, right?
mhm.
And I'm not in that space anymore. I'm not, because I went through 10 years of infertility myself.
Wow.
So, and I can read and just like, oh my gosh, like, and if I was in that space and anxious and depressed, I would just take all of this on board too and spiral down further and think there's no hope, nobody's getting pregnant. So you need to be part of a community that, I think, where you can express yourself, absolutely, but then there is that opportunity to be lifted up and moved forward. Do you know what I mean? Because it's too easy to get into some of those communities and keep
Mhm,
spiraling down and
mhm.
spiraling down even worse.
Some people love the trauma bond.
Yeah.
And I think
Some
that's
people do
what it
love the trauma bond, yes.
it's the
To be able to put
unsolicited
it.
opinions. It's the sharing of stories that are traumatizing, the lack of evidence based within the share. You want to stay away from that. I love that you said kind of build your community up around you, because your support is really important, your
Mhm.
connections and your relationships. And a lot of times people isolate and they find themselves depressed and they find themselves sad. And I want to really highlight the importance of a positive community. So before I let you go, Bella, is there something that you are like, we cannot leave this interview without sharing? It's important for the people to know. Just give us a good something that you may not have shared yet already.
Oh my gosh, I'm like, that's a big can of worms to open, really. Look, I'll share this. So I went through a 10-year infertility journey. I had a child. I was trying for number two, and then I had breast cancer. Right. So that ended my journey for number two, because I had to go through a different medical journey. And I think the biggest that's even though I had trained in hypnotherapy beforehand, when I was going through this experience, hypnotherapy actually became a huge part of my life. And I started to actually see the power of it and how it could help me in many emotional situations. And what I like about hypnotherapy in particular, it's not necessarily all about the words. Sometimes it's about just the ability to be able to get your body to relax to such a deep state that it's taking your body out of fight or flight and down into that rest, repair, and reproductive mode. And so practicing being able to do that, whether it's through meditation, although I feel like people you need to be a little bit more aware with meditation. Whereas with hypnosis, you can stick it on at night and fall asleep to it, and you don't have to fit it into your day, which is what I love about it the most. But it's a really quick, easy way, a 20-minute hypnosis as you're going to sleep at night, to counteract a lot of the stress that you've been dealing with throughout the day.
Thank you so much for sharing the importance of just having a positive mindset or relaxed being in just how the benefits of what that really looks like throughout all 4 trimesters period, the success
Mhm.
and what it might could, how it can support fertility, how it can support pregnancy, labor, and parenthood. Those things are important.
They
Mindset.
are, because the mindset will take you through. Like, I'll just share really quickly, like when like I went through 10 years of infertility. I
Mm,
then went to IVF, which I actually sailed through because I was happy and prepared before I went through. So it was quite easy for me, whereas a lot of people still find that traumatic. Then I was, like I was 20 weeks or something, and I started bleeding.
mm,
Would have really freaked out, but I decided, no, it doesn't mean anything right now. Let me go and get checked out. And it turned out to be nothing. And it was fine. And so I continued on really enjoying my pregnancy, not stressing about every little thing that wasn't real yet. But it
mm,
was only because I'd set myself up in the beginning to be calm, to have that kind of mindset where I'm going to, like, not be all anxious about things first, but because it was a practice, because I built the neural pathway in my head for that to be the path of least resistance.
mm,
That's simply it. Like, I decided to atrophy the anxiety, build up the calm, and so that's naturally where I go now. I don't have to fight it. It's not like I don't have to like will it on. That's just naturally where I go now,
mm,
right? And when it's natural, life is easier.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. Hypnotherapy helping make the adjustment of turning fear into more joy, turning confusion into confidence, and
Yeah. And
turning,
trust, and
yeah,
trust in yourself.
that's
That no
beautiful.
matter what happens, that you will be okay,
Mm-hmm,
right? It's
mm-hmm,
not about always trusting in that you'll get the outcome. It's about trusting that you will be okay and that you will
mm-hmm.
find your way through, even if you're in a moment of grief, even if you're in, so going through something difficult.
Oh, I love that. Trusting in yourself, trust your body's ability to maintain and to see you through and to keep you safe. Trust your mind's capacity to see confidence and
Mm. And look,
love
it's not easy,
and
but when you taught the tools and the strategies on how to do that, it becomes so much easier. So,
oh, I love that. Bella, tell the people how they can find you.
I have a website. It's called studiofertility.com. I'm on Instagram. You can follow me at Studio Fertility. That's pretty easy. I have a podcast, which I will be starting up again. I just took a break in February because I moved from Australia to the UK. So that was a bit of a move and I needed the time to settle in. So that's the Studio Fertility podcast. I've tried to keep it all very simple for people to find me, as you can see. So those are all the ways you can find me.
Well, I hope you guys seek out support from Bella Hilton. And if you are in need of community or birth support or postpartum support, my name is Troy Loren of Mama Tree Doula, your favorite full spectrum wellness doula. Continue to nurture your pregnancy journey. Happy healing and happy baking.